Week 10 is here. And now we're starting to get into that little bit of we already know who about to get to who. We starting to see who's going to be over here ordering people in the draft. There we go. I'm just going to say it. But for the most part, outside of real like 4 or 5 teams, everybody really is in the thick of things. So this is really just like the time to like see if you can separate yourself for home field advantage, matchups, that kind of thing. So I was like, it's really weird because it's like it's halfway, but we still have a lot of teams that have a chance to do something. We're gonna keep that in. Um, than not. It used to be when we didn't have as many playoff spots that pretty much by now you could start counting. You're like, nah, this team sorry, this team sucks or whatever. But now like a lot more teams are like getting better and they're not necessarily superstar type team. Really ain't really that this year either in general. But for the most part, I was like, there are a lot more teams that have decided to try to at least be competent or better. Where they're just like, hey, as long as we get in, once we get in, it really is like it's Mark Madden, but NFL wise, it's like, nah, whoever really just has it that day, regardless of how it all looks anyway. So like we can sit here and be like, Chiefs best team, yeah, then nothing happens for them. So anyway, getting to these slates. First, we're gonna start out with the Colts and Patriots. Um, I was like, even though it's obvious to be like, oh, the Colts are going to beat the Patriots, the Colts have been sort of also snake bitten a lot this year. There's a lot of games they should have won where they should have a better record than what they got. So therefore, they are a better team. But in saying that, you're also going to get the Patriots, who, while they have been lackluster, is very optimistic word to say. Um, they still seem like a team that can get you. And the Colts haven't really been dominant in a way that seems like that matchup is like, man, they got the Patriots. It seems almost like the Patriots could get them in this sense. That doesn't mean I'm picking them. I'm going with the Colts here. I think too much of Taylor and Moss. Minshew's been good. Him and Pittman's been really good this year with downs and stuff to, where it's like the defense with Buckner has been also really great, and Kenny Moore and all of them, that they're really a lot, although like I said, they're a lot better than what their record shows. And even though the Patriots might be able to, this ain't gonna be the one. I think they're too much of like their luck need to change versus the Patriots going to catch them in their luck. If it was a different matchup, maybe. But 49ers and Jaguars, I think this is going to be a pretty tough, rugged game. I don't think either team is really going to separate themselves. I'm going with the Jaguars here. I get that 49ers are getting healthy and stuff like that, but I just think the Jaguars are just sort of like their defense is playing really well. And I think the way the 49ers have been on offense, even though they still got their weapons and they've still been in a lot of these games, I just think that Trevor Lawrence is right now has just been able to do enough of using everything that's available to him. He could pass it, we know that, but he also can run it. So I think he's been getting a lot better at that, and I think that's what he's going to need against the pass rush that has Young, Gregory, and Bosa now, along with Armstead and all of them. I also think that I do think that while their weapons aren't spectacular, I think they got a lot of weapons that are similar to how the 49ers are, with Kirk being a guy that you give him the ball, he could turn 5 into 12. That kind of team. Evans, I was like a really good tight end stretch. I was like very fast, very vertical, very much a receiving threat. And Travis Etienne is just as much dangerous as McCaffrey is. Etienne been pretty much really solid and helping them win a lot of games this year. But I'm a pull, I guess, somewhat of an upset. I think the Jaguars just get them here. I think the 49ers have been a little bit off lately, and I don't think that's – I think when they start playing against some of the tougher teams, that's where that stuff starts to come in a lot, so more so. So we got Browns and Ravens. The Browns got by the Ravens last time, and that's when the Ravens wasn't playing a good game. They wasn't at their peak of how they are right now with the offense running and passing the ball and Lamar being on this level. The defense has gotten better since then as well too. And I don't really believe in the Browns' offense. I was like, if the defense is the only thing you really believe in, and he sort of got through their defense, then I was like, I'm not going. I was like, they can run the ball, yes, and I was like, they're going to be a physical game because they AFC team, North teams and stuff like that. But I just don't believe in none of the Cleveland's offense or nothing like that. I think that they could pull out and win against the Ravens. They're not. I was like, they're not the sneaky. Oh, they might get them while they're high type of team to me. I was like, they just not that. They're just not that type of crazy offensively talented team to me to catch the Ravens napping. Packers and Steelers. This could be pretty much a defensive game of boo-boo. Jordan Love hasn't been spectacular, and it's basically all except for 2 games. Neither had Pickett. I was like, he's had moments, he's had times, and most of the time it's Pickens, then Pickett. Them running the ball has been sort of iffy if it really, especially if it's not Waddle. Warren, I was like thinking Dolphin. But if we're going to say the defense, I was like, the defense for the Steelers have been playing a lot better than the Packers defense. I was like, I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh here to get the win. The thing is that the thing that can sort of throw the edge is if the Packers are playing decent on offense, they have big play opportunity with their receivers and running backs than what the Steelers have. The Steelers really don't have anything that you're just like that the potential there. Like their floor is really high, but not their but their ceiling is really low. Whereas the Packers ceiling is really high, but when we seen the floor, I was like, you over here starting at ground level. But I think the Steelers but they're still a disciplined team. Their defense is stout. I was like, the Packers have a lot to be desired sometimes with their defense. I'm gonna choose the Steelers here. Saints and Vikings. This has been like a couple weeks ago. You probably would have been maybe like, that's still gonna be hard. Kurt Cobain was out here, slinging that thing, and they was playing really well. The Saints, the only reason I feel like it can be the Saints is just because even though Dobbs came off that win where he came in and basically led them to a victory, I think the Saints defense is way better than, I was like, well, no, I'm not gonna say way better, but they're better than Atlanta's defense, while also being Atlanta's sort of weird on their offense also to throw anything at the Vikings to make them pay for having a quarterback that was giving the ball up. You know what I'm saying? Whereas like the Saints, if they get the turnovers, they're able to win. Carr have been great on offense. They haven't been really great outside of Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara. But they still have Olave, Thomas. They still got weapons. So, and Carr is not a bad quarterback. He's just not a great quarterback. I'm going to go with the Saints here, but I don't feel great about it. I feel like Dobbs just might have some sprinkle dust on him just to, I was like, well, that made it sound like a whole drill reference. I was like, he got like some like fairy dust. Maybe Tinkerbell was over here shaking that thing over there. Either way, I think the Saints win. I just don't feel confident about it at all. I was like, Texans and Bengals is probably going to be the game of the day. You can probably look at like some 27-24 type of game. I was like, my heart says Texas, my mind says Bengals. My heart is like, nah, them Texans, they on a roll after that victory last week. They're over here being in the thick thing. They might get a chance to be in the playoff, While my head is like, Joe Burrow and the Bengals are also playing really good. The defense is getting around to being like on it. Their offense also came around to where it's like, but it's like, do you want to go against the boys, CJ Stroud out here? I'm gonna choose the Texans for the upset. I think it's gonna be a really close. I think it's like a pick'em game, to be honest. They're both playing well right now at the same specific time, and it's really just going to be like Stroud doesn't turn the ball over, and Burrow doesn't really either. But their team can cause it. Now their defense, I think, is a little bit more optimistic with turnovers than the Texans are. But I don't know. I think it's just C.J. Stroud in this one. I think the same way that we used to pick Burrow for the same thing. I think that's why I'm picking C.J. Stroud here. That's what I'm gonna go with. This is another one. This is like me not feeling confident, but in a good way than the last one where I felt, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it, but I don't like it. Titans and Buccaneers. It should be a game the Buccaneers get. Will Levis all just seemed like I think he make it up to start. He's been playing well. I was like, Tampa Bay been like here in all their games. You know, like they had like 3 games they should have won. I think the Bucs get it just because of that, because they're always there, and I think against a team that sort of has like a rookie quarterback, and even though he played well the first start and played good the second one, I think that he's still a rookie and he's late in the season as well too. Yeah, I was like, I think the Buccaneers are just going to be able to pull out one and get back on track a bit. Falcons and Cardinals. Murray's, I don't believe he's going to start. And even if he does, I don't know if that. I was like, he gives him an extra layer of talent that I guess you could say that Josh Dobbs just doesn't have in order to maybe like push those extra time when they were close to wins. But also in a lot of those games too, they were close and then they just went off a cliff. So therefore, how much is his talent going to be able to help, especially when he's just starting back? I think the Falcons, there's also sort of due a victory. Sometimes they just be biting their own ass or whatever. And I think they pulled this one out. It shouldn't be that difficult. I was like, I mean, if they lose to the Cardinals, we're talking about something way different here. Especially after their change from Heineke, from Ritter to Heineke, and they still end up with a loss, and it's it's a little bit better, but not that much different. Lions and Chargers. I think this would be a fairly good game as well too. Picking the Lions here. I think that their defense is better than the Chargers, yes, but I think their defense to offense ratio is a lot better, and by that I mean Justin Herbert has to score like nearly 27 points for you to really feel their defense. Like Bosa could get to the quarterback, and Mack has been okay outside of that one crazy game. They got people on defense, but they ain't working and ain't doing anything. That's what I mean by the ratio, where I'm like, the Detroit defense is playing well with their offense playing well. So that way you're not like, damn, I gotta score in order to have my defense not feel like a liability and all that. That's what I mean by the ratio of things. In that, I was like I said, Detroit's gonna win because I feel more confident with their team ratio scheme like that than the Chargers that be charging. I don't think I'm gonna stop here. Commanders and Seahawks had a chance to also be a really good game. They both have the potential to be high flying type of game. They also have the potential to also be like a dud. I think the Seahawks pulled this one out. They sort of been like losing here and there. They got trounced against the Ravens. And also against the Bengals for like the week before that. The Commanders been in their games with the Eagles and stuff, but they just haven't been able to get that. And their defense was slightly a little bit better, but ain't got the pass rush still outside. Howell is able to make plays, but he also taking beatings. I think the Seahawks will just be able to just cause enough turnover from Howell to, like Howell had been a crazy turnover machine outside like one game, but he still had to been. Well, like he will cost the ball up, but sometimes it's not all his fault. Sometimes it's the line that is causing problems here. And then we got Cowboys and Giants. I don't feel like this needs to be talked about. Cowboy coming off a loss. The Giants is nothing but a big L. It's Cowboys. There's nothing we need to talk about here. And Jets Raiders. I don't think there's really nothing to talk about here. I don't know who thought this would be a good Sunday night game regardless if Aaron Rodgers were playing. To be honest, I actually don't know who's also going to win this one. The Jets, you would say the Jets You would think they got, because their defense very competent. I was like, they got Brees Hall, but I think the Raiders are going to win. I think Antonio Pierce is going to get his second victory. I think it's just going to be something where they just got the mojo of a new coach, and maybe they feeling him a lot more, that they just going to keep riding that high. That's sort of what the Jets were doing. They were riding the high until I was like, until that high started to collapse, there was nothing they could do. Yeah, this game also really nothing to be talked about here, really. But yeah. So anyway, those are my picks. First time I was like, I wasn't overly too confident about it, even though I think there's a bunch of games that are going to be really well. What are your predictions? What do you think? Let me know. Other than that, like video, appreciate it. If not, maybe next time. But till then, see you after the game.